play going on, some side play going on. It's really just like a bunch of random like Excel spreadsheets and bars and bar graphs.
But it looks impressive.
Oh yeah, no.
Because you got to do like the Jim Cramer, right? You got to do the yelling, you got to do the random sound effects, and then you're a stock expert. Like that's what I've been told. That's what you need to succeed in the stock market.
I'm pretty sure I can set up a soundboard on this thing so I can just start pushing random buttons.
I think we have one, and I don't know that we've ever used any of these except for the drums, which I know exactly what that is.
To be fair, though, probably a good idea.
Yeah. Because we could get into a lot of trouble with a soundboard that we can use during recording.
Yeah.
Wah, wah, bong.
Oh, Nikki just shaking her head like, I have to edit all this shit out on top of your usual shit.
I mean, she could probably just highlight the whole thing and hit bunk if she wanted to.
That is fair. That is fair.
I feel like she could probably do that to most episodes of the Philly KickAss podcast.
Nailed it.
Quality work. As usual, I might add. As usual.
Look, we have one joke, and for the last 5 years, it hasn't stopped being funny.
At least not to us. The listeners may have a different opinion.
Hey, considering how many listeners we've had lately, which is more than zero, believe it or not, I would say that we're doing something right.
Who's we? I'm Jay. He's Zack. That's Dan. We're the usual fairly kick-ass monsters.
It's true. And what are these monsters going to be talking about today, Jay?
Well, today we may talk about May.
You don't say?
I wanted to rhyme that better, but I rhymed May with May, and now I hate myself.
Yeah. I thought you were going Happy Gilmore there. And then...
Maybe you'll go eat some hay and lay by the bay. We just may. We're talking about May. That's what we're doing.
Fucking fantastic.
This might be the earliest that we've ever actually been talking about a month. Because to break the fourth wall, it's the 1st of June. We just finished May and we're already talking about it. Usually we take our sweet ass time getting around to this.
Yeah, I had to blitzkrieg listen the stuff that dropped this week. I did, though. I listened to a lot.
Yeah, it was good, though.
Yeah, it was very good. And the stuff that dropped this week, full disclosure, none of it's making my top 3, but it does land in the honorable mentions.
Very nice.
My expectation is that, Zack, you have one of those in your top 3. We'll see. I'm not sure. You don't have to give anything away yet. What did you think of May overall, as far as the album releases?
Well, just as a little teaser for you, Jay, and for the group, Jay, you are absolutely correct, but you don't know why you're correct. And so I'll leave it at that. There's some fun stuff going on in the last week of May, but fun stuff going on throughout the entire month as well. Lots of really good to great releases, a couple that were completely expected to be awesome and were, a couple that were not on my radar at all and were awesome. And one that was something completely different that we'll get into. So, yeah, it was a fun month. I will say I don't think it was the best month of the year so far. I think that was February for me, but it was a fun month for sure.
I agree, but I do think that my top 2 records will wind up in my top 3 of the year.
Wow,
for this month, yeah. So my number 3, I had quite a battle trying to figure out what was going to take that 3rd spot. But numbers 1 and 2, no question.
I think I know one of them, but
you do.
I've
you
been
know
wrong
one of
before.
them.
Okay. I figured the other one. Yeah, I'm very intrigued at what that might be.
Yeah, Dan, how about you? It was May a slog for you as we in perfect form? When we have a good month, you have an absolute shite month. So is that the case now, or did it work out for you?
That's the best way to describe it. And we talked briefly about why it was like this, and we'll continue when we get to it. But an abyss of meh.
Okay. Could the charts for May best be described as Morgan Wallen.
Yes. Granted, more things that weren't Morgan Wallen actually did make it up into the top 40, which is a bit of a welcome change from April, where just nothing really moved. So at least
Okay.
there's stuff to talk about.
That's good.
That is not Morgan Wallen. There's a lot of that stuff.
Well, I look forward to hearing it. But let's start where we usually do on the album side of things. Zach, you want to kick us off with your number 3?
I suppose I do.
You got giddy for a moment, so I think you really do.
I'm just going to go into it because y'all have already talked about it ad nauseum, sort of. My number 3 album of the month of May 2025 was not at all expected, but I guess that's part of the fun of doing this whole thing, right? Anyway, it's I'm the Problem. And I'm actually being serious here. My number 3 album of the month of May is I'm the Problem, but specifically as presented by producers Charlie Handsome, Jacob Durrett, and Joey Moy, as well as a whole slew of musicians, including Tom Bukovac, Dave Cohen, Jerry Rowe, Brian Sutton, Craig Young, and Jimmy Lee Sloas. It's solid, folksy, Americana-tinged pop instrumentals, perhaps a bit samey throughout, but that'll happen when you're working through 37 godforsaken tracks. They start off strong with the title track and I Got Better starting off on the right foot immediately with those sort of Americana vibes that really just take you right into a nice glass of lemonade. There is percussion, kind of, sort of. When it's there, it's usually subtle. It's usually slight. It's very pleasing to the ear in the most part. Genesis, a great example of that, by the way. Just enough drums to dot the track, but the overall sweeping sound takes precedence here. Dark Till Daylight and Crazy Eyes were my favorites on this entirely instrumental album. And while there are some misses, 20 Cigarettes, I'm Looking at You, there is more than enough to like here. And thankfully, no vocals to sully what was a very pleasant, completely instrumental, without words listen.
Bro, I think you got a different version.
Yeah.
Different. I mean, it was on...
I think someone might have slid you some stems or something.
There may be an entirely instrumental version on Spotify. I'm kind of looking for it right now.
No, I mean, it was a bit. There's not, unfortunately. You have to believe.
Oh.
Yeah.
Which was not easy. No. It was not easy at all. But considering that I had pledged to listen to this fucking thing anyway, I was going to do it my way. And it actually worked out well.
Can I also, since you went ahead and shouted out the producers while you were speaking, I tried to count. Let's shout out the 48 songwriters on this record.
That is an average of over one per song. One different one per song.
One different one per song. And you know whose name doesn't show up on all 37 of them?
Morgan Wallen.
Morgan Wallen.
Interesting.
He's at least did something enough for a lot of them to get writing credit. But he's not all on top of there. There's a lot of royalties. So I hope that for his sake, shit sold well, because he's got to deal out a lot of writing and producing money.
Well, judging by the fact that you had to listen to most of it, I'm assuming it's making money. So,
unfortunately,
the only one I actually listened to, and I dropped the ball on this one because I had also pledged to listen to the record, and then I didn't. I kept bumping it to the side, like, I'll get it later, and then I didn't. The only ones I listened to were the track with Tate McRae, which...
What went wrong, I think?
Yeah.
What I want.
It was... When she's singing, you can forget that it's Morgan Wallen for a moment. And the rest of it was perfectly meh. And that's the only one I listened to.
What were the songs that you were picking out, Zach, that I wanted to see if I might be able to help with a quick preview?
Genesis.
Did not chart.
Dark Till Daylight.
Did not chart.
Crazy Eyes.
Did not chart.
And then I mentioned just briefly the title track and I Got Better. I know both of them charted. And 20 Cigarettes, which also charted, I think right now is in like number 20 exactly on the top 20 as of this week.
So 20 Cigarettes is down at number 18.
Okay.
I Got Better is at number 11
Lower than I expected.
on the month.
Okay.
And then the title track is probably in the top 10. I know it was at one point. I don't know if it still is. Regrettably.
I'm the problem, actually. I believe that has been out for a little while.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Good.
Well,
Billboard doing something right for once.
I mean, we're talking about statistics here so that we can avoid saying, Zach, what the fuck?
Yes. Oh, I'm the Problem was the third worst song back in February.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I still would like an answer to the question, what the fuck?
I knew I had to do something. Like, I didn't want this to just be like, oh, I listened to this album and it fucking sucked, and it's an honorable mention because it sucked. Like, obviously, we know that. We all knew that was going to be the case. That's not fun. Let's figure out something to do to spice it up. And I really had to rack my brain. Like, how can was it making chicken salad out of chicken shit? Like, how can I do that with this album? Like, what if I take the problem out of I'm the Problem altogether?
Gotcha.
What's remaining? And that's where it went from there.
So what you're saying is you took the music stems from it and you made it listenable.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. In my head, I kind of had the Morgan Wallen filter going, like, full blast the entire time.
Okay.
So not a recommended way to listen to that album by any stretch, but a unique way to listen to
it. Okay.
Apologies if any listeners are like intrepid enough to actually try this. Like, it's probably not going to be super entertaining, but at the very least, it will be better than if you actually like hear the words and the dude and the voice. Jay,
honestly, like his voice isn't the problem. His voice is perfectly reasonably good. It's the lyrics, that are the problem.
48 people. How is this what we have?
Yeah.
It's like 6 songs. That's probably being generous. It's like 4 songs that are spread out over 37 tracks.
Yeah.
It's obscene.
Y'all just go ahead and put a pin in both of those thoughts for me, would you?
Noted.
Yeah. Well, in the meantime, I will change directions in the harshest possible fashion.
Thank you.
Because, well, yeah. So I went the other direction for my number 3. The Callous Dowboys not only have one of my favorite band names, but they have carved out this like unique and exhilarating niche in the heavy music landscape. So it's a place where chaos reigns supreme, but it is meticulously orchestrated. And their new album, I Don't Want to See You in Heaven, released in May, is it's controlled pandemonium. It's effortless, but it blends like his raw dynamic vocal shifts. There's angular dissonant guitar riffs reminiscent of like Glassjaw, but with this like relentless riff driven aggression and southern tinged grit of like Every Time I Die. Here's the thing. The band also possesses this avant-garde theatricality, and they do this genre blending thing, this unpredictability that jumps between mathcore intensity and jazz infused breakdowns and moments of like surprising melody, sort of like the circus like brilliance of Dog Fashion Disco. Okay. But what truly sets them apart is their uncanny ability to inject an almost perverse catchiness into all of this chaos. It's a quality that, like, if you don't think too hard about it in a twisted way, it can lodge itself in your brain with the same tenacity as like an unexpectedly memorable Fall Out Boy chorus, like filtered through a shredder. It's a sound that is ferociously heavy, intellectually stimulating, and it's a truly singular experience.
I feel like I'm definitely not the person to kind of speak on this topic, but at least to me, it seems like this may be so far the year of the accessible core music. You know what I mean? And yes. I don't say that derisively. I say that it's a great thing.
We're going to see that a lot in my top 3, actually.
Yeah. Yes, we are.
In a different sort of way, though. Like the Callous Dowboys, like their stuff, it's humorous. It's funny. It's unapologetically satirical. He talks about anxiety and societal absurdities, the human condition, whatever. But everything is delivered with this frenetic energy. It's unpredictable. The music changes with no warning all the time. And it's sometimes unsettling. Sometimes it's cathartic. Always it's cynical. Basically, it leaves you with this weird transitional feeling of existential dread from like the mundane horrors of everyday life.
And maybe that's the part that like has just been overlooked. The music itself isn't really that much different than it has been, but I feel like it's the general consensus of like this style of music, this aggressive quote unquote style of music is always akin to like death and killing and violence and dying. It's like, it's such a 1980s way to think about things. And I feel like it's how folks have been stuck with just modern metal as a whole up until very recently. So I'm glad that those stigmas are finally starting to be shed.
Yeah, love it.
And that like these are people who go through the same shit that we do. It just sounds way cooler when they sing about it.
Yes. We'll get into that here very shortly, but let's hear about your number 2 record first.
Well, my number 2 record is not going to be a curveball like my number 3 was. And you've already alluded to it. I've alluded to it. I'm going to keep this very, very short because I'm way more interested in hearing what you have to say about it than what I have to say about it, to be perfectly honest. That is Even in Arcadia, the latest from Sleep Token. I wrote in my notes from Vessel and the good folks at Sleep Token, because apparently it's a car dealership or a furniture store now. Damocles, price to move. We're running low on caramel. Come on down and pick one up before it's gone. Yeah, don't write like I do, guys. It's awful. It's terrible. I will say just one thing, and again, I won't go too into depth with anything except for just by pure happenstance, as to fourth wall break here, as Dan had joined our Zencaster call, he was playing the outro to Emergence. And I had written up this whole long ass thing about how beautiful of a song it was. And then there's this amazing sax outro from Gabby Rose, who's the lead of the band N Rose. And Dan's just like jamming it as soon as he comes, but just like the outro, like sax part. And it was just like, chef's kiss. Yeah. Could not have planned this any better. So yeah, Jay will tell you all about it. I think I'm not burying the lead there too much, but yeah, fantastic, fabulous album, obviously.
Yeah. In a sort of surprising, maybe, we won't call it a curveball, we'll call it a slider. My number 2 album of the month is Sleep Tokens, Even in Arcadia.
That's kind of surprising.
Yeah. Surprised me too. But from the beginning, they consistently push the boundaries of musical expression. I guess you could call them alternative metal at best, but they weave in R&B and prog rock and electronica into a sound that is unique to them. It's one of the reasons I like them so much. Once again, they sort of transcend expectations. The album sort of unfurls as a journey. It showcases a refined evolution of their sound. That's all boring. I don't want to talk about that. The songs on this record are big. They are colossal. They are, but not just big. They are also intimate. Musically, they oscillate between like crushing, gent-infused breakdowns and ethereal ambient passages. Vessel's voice, ever the emotional anchor, soars. Like he has an unparalleled sort of grace and raw power in what he does. He navigates his back and forth between intricate melodies and guttural roars, and it transcends everything. The man's amazing. Lyrically is where this album really shines, though. It delves into profound complexities of human connection. It's vulnerable. He is pining for a time when he was able to stay anonymous and failed, which is why we, respectfully continue to refer to him as Vessel. He sort of searching for an meaning in a chaotic world. His lyrics are as captivating as they ever have been. It's vivid emotional landscapes, resonates deeply with me, as it clearly does with other people, as they've really blown up on things like TikTok. And there is a narrative thread throughout the whole album that is deeply personal to him. It is simultaneously universally relatable, invites introspection, fosters a sense of shared humanity. And the way those narratives are crafted, you get these hints at larger mythologies that aren't ever explicitly defined. There's a layer of intrigue. It encourages active engagement. And in a month that saw a whole lot of strong releases, I would say that even in Arcadia, when I wrote this was planned to be my number one. And I wrote that it stands head and shoulders above the rest. That's not true anymore, but it does have an unparalleled emotional depth, groundbreaking musicality, and a profound lyrical content that it's not just a collection of songs. This is a transformative experience. And I would say that while to me, it is not my favorite of their records because it is a little more pop forward than, let's say, Take Me Back to Eden. It is a challenging listen. It is a upfront and visceral story. And I encourage anyone to take that challenge and just let it wash over you, because it's such a cool way to present music.
I made the right choice by not talking too much about this album, because that was, as per usual, my friend, that was a phenomenal workup, a workup that is befitting of such a phenomenal release.
God, it was good. It's a good record.
So good. It's well deserved. As we talked about the accessibility, certainly that success that the record and the singles kind of singularly have been having is clearly well deserved, but it's also very surprising, but hopefully a sign of more things to come.
Yeah. I very much hope so. Like, I mean, at one point in the album, he says, "I know I should be touring. I know these chords are boring." But that's one of those, like, it's a moment of perfect awareness of this is somebody who has put their entire life force into what he's doing. He got caught off guard by how much the idea of popularity and like people who love him for what he does aren't his friends. And
it's
how
the fame monster,
Yeah, exactly. He and Lady Gaga might get along pretty well, actually.
I bet they would. Real talk, I bet they would.
Yeah. So but there's a lot there, and it's all on the table on this record. This is a more emotionally personal album for Vessel than anything they've done prior to this, which I think is what I connected with most. Musically, it's not their most phenomenal material. I think Take Me Back to Eden has it beat leaps and bounds in musicality.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
But as far as his connection with the words, I think is even more on this album than ever before. So I glow, right? Like I can't say enough.
Because it's not supposed to be this way. Like,
right.
Music is not supposed to be so vulnerable, but this is just a level of vulnerability and a level of introspection that is rarely seen. And that's not a knock on anyone else. That's just more heaping more praise on Vessel and the rest of the band.
Yeah.
What a great fucking album.
Great fucking album.
And surprisingly, like, I had it slotted in. In fact, last month I had it slotted in as my number one of April, because I forgot when it had come out. I had already listened to it by the time we recorded our April reviews, and I was like, oh yeah, clearly number one. And then I went back through my notes, like, no, it's not. It didn't come out, that until May. So I had to put it at the top of my May list, and then as I was listening to other things, was also surprised that something supplanted it. So
okay.
But before I get into that, let me hop into the things that did not supplant the top three, that just barely missed the mark, my honorable mentions of May. And we're going to start out with a Canadian punk sensation, I think that's fair to say, Pup, with their latest Who Will Look After the Dogs. Messy in all the best ways, which is basically Pup to a T. Also, no song clocks in at over 4 minutes, so we're in and out quick, which also is Pup to a T. It was fast. It was awesome. It was quintessential. Great album. The second part of a two-parter from, I think maybe another Canadian outfit, Men I Trust, Equus Caballus. I'm certainly mispronouncing that. Shout out to my Latin. The first part, Equus Asinus, was my number 2 album of April of last month. Equus Calibus could have easily taken the same slot in May as well, as good as it was. It's more of the same. It's slow, it's airy. Everything on the track paired perfectly with lead singer Emma Prue's low Earth orbit vocals. In fact, I like this release more than the one that came out in April. Definitely a vibe. The one that you probably think is number 1, but is an honorable mention, is Black Hole Superette from Aesop Rock. Because in terms of Ace Rock releases, like, this was good. In a vacuum, it was fabulous. Obviously, it's Ace Rock. He doesn't miss. But, judging against something like The Impossible Kid, judging against something like Spirit World Field Guide, like, it was good. It didn't really hit the mark that I know that he's capable of, because he's done it, several times now. So not a knock on it, but certainly I know that it's not one of his best releases. Also, English outfit Morchiba with Escape the Chaos. I've always been a huge fan of the vocals of the indomitable Sky Edwards, and this is no exception at all. Chill electronica, and it is, if you're a fan of old Morchiba stuff, you'll be a fan of this. If you're not a fan, give it a listen. You might become a fan. It is absolutely delightful. And then Chuck D. Yes, that Chuck D. With Chuck D presents Enemy Radio Armageddon, which is a mouthful of an album, and a mouthful of an album in the sense that there's so much going on in so many of these tracks. It's so loud, it's so noisy, it's so boisterous, and I don't really think the album benefits from it in the most case. Some of the tracks hit well. Station Identification was one that I clocked that was really solid. Super Bag as well. Really enjoyed that. But for the most part, it was a surprising miss. I didn't know what to expect, but it was not that, and I wasn't really too pleased with the whole thing.
Yeah, it was a little too much for me too.
Yeah,
I did like Station Identification though. That's a bop.
Yeah, for sure. That was a good track. I wish there were more, but
yeah,
those were my honorable mentions, my friend. What just barely missed your list?
Well, I can get a couple of them out of the way real quick, because I also had Morchiba and Escape the Chaos on my honorable mentions list. You called it chill electronic. I would call it trip hop, kind of sneaker pimps ish, mid 90s gothcore almost, but smooth as hell and just phenomenal. I also had Aesop Rock. Wow, that was hard to say. Apparently. Aesop Rock with Black Hole Superette. I agree with you. It's not his best work. I love his flow and I love his ability to like wordplay, but this album was fucking stupid.
Thank you so much. That's so vindicating.
He had a lot of fun with words, but there was nothing like to hang your hat on. Like the last record, which the name of I'm drawing a blank on it.
I am too.
His wordplay was phenomenal on that, but it had like pigeonometry on the record, which was, a very, very loose allegory for like racism. And this didn't have that, at least not that I could find. Like there was nothing really that was like, whatever. It was good. His flow is amazing and I love him, but this album was dumb. What kind of dog is that?
John something just like had me rolling, but I knew that it wasn't because it was a good or funny song. It was just like, how did this make an album?
John something. Okay. Good, dude. It's fun. Anyway, to round out the hip hop on my honorable mentions, I also threw Exhibit and his record Kingmaker on there, specifically to shout out the Busta Rhymes track with Jason Martin. That's a phenomenal track. The rest of the album is very much Exhibit. So if you like him, great. If not, yeah, okay. Everything else on my honorable mentions you hadn't said yet. So I'm going to shout out Dope Lemon, his album Golden Wolf, sort of smooth, psych-tinged indie rock. The album is a warm breeze. Just check it out. Good stuff. Counting Crows released Butter Miracle, The Complete Suites. I know Zach and I, we talked about that a little while back when it dropped. I like it. It's very Counting Crows in a good way. I think it's fun. I think Adam's in top form. Not their best material, but it's certainly not bad. I liked McCluskey. The World Is Still Here and So Are We. Very angular, acerbic wit, undiminished intensity. It's sharp, exhilarating post-punk. exactly what you'd expect from McCluskey. If you are looking for something a little heavier but with no vocals, let's go with Pelican and Flickering Resonance. All instrumental stoner metal. Solid listen, excellent guitar work, great rhythmic abilities with those guys. And then if you need something bluesy, let's go with Robin Trower's newest effort, Come and Find Me. That guy releases about an album a year now, which he's like, I don't know, 130 years old. So whatever he releases is probably, it's fine. It's good. It's not going to stand out in a lineup, but it's good.
Yeah, I will admit I did not listen to this album, so I can't vouch for it. But you had mentioned the track from the Exhibit album from Kingmaker with Jason Martin.
Mm-hmm. There's 2 of them with him.
Oh, thank you. If you're a fan of his work, he also does have a full release with Lefty Gunplay this month as well. So go check that out. It might be good. Question mark.
I did not listen to that one.
Listeners, y'all have to report back to us. So you have homework now. We did our homework. Now it's your turn. Let us know about that Lefty Gunplay. We'll tell you how at the end of the show. Oh, I'm stalling because this is going to be the most challenging number one, or the most challenging thing I've ever said on this entire show.
Oh God, what is about to happen? You already said Morgan Wallen, so what could possibly happen?
Oh no, challenging for like a logistical way. You'll see in a sec.
Okay.
To borrow from a Reddit post about this album, quote, I just imploded in a Buc-ee's drive-thru. And to be fair, I didn't realize that Buc-ee's had drive-thrus, so I learned something there. But also, to be fair, the album makes me, just based on reading that, also want to drive to my nearest Buc-ee's to have the aforementioned experience. And also because it makes no logical sense, much like this album as a whole. And that was the absolute beauty and brilliance of it. It is a band that I had not heard of prior to this month, which makes sense because it is a Swedish band by the name of Vildhjarta. And thanks to them and bringing Där skogen hunjar under vintens grön ar to my ears, I was fully convinced that this was one of the best albums I've heard of the entire year. It's hard to describe, literally and figuratively, because the sounds and the syllables don't make sense in the American mouth. But I'm trying my best here. I went through and made sure that I was able to, through the use of Google Translate, of course, pronounce all of these, so I don't sound like so much of a buffoon. But this was so good. Just prog metal. I guess prog metal, but so much more. Kind of very similar to the way you describe Sleep, even in Arcadia from Sleep Token, that it's hard to nail it down to a genre. It's probably most similar to prog metal, but there are so many other aspects going on here too. Not being musical trained, it's hard to explain it in the proper terms, but I will say that there is a lot going on at some points and then next to nothing going on at other points. And sometimes the a lot going on goes directly into the nothing going on. And somehow it just works. It's very jarring, but whatever the positive connotation way of saying jarring would be, because it flips on its ear immediately. And it just somehow is so pleasing to the ear. I would recommend the entirety of track 1, Bitte ut alla Harner på himlen mot plussäcken. Also track 4, Ilva. They gave me a reprieve on that one, thank goodness. Or track 7, Kristall Fogel. Also, specific points in a couple of tracks where things really got amazing. The 2 minute and 6 second mark of track 2, 12 Kijar Svanar. And the 4 minute and 3 second mark of the 12th and final track, Den Spanska Shan Slan. Yeah, anyone who knows how these words should be pronounced knows that my pronunciation is absolute trash, but that's the exact opposite of this album. More than any of that, it just made me feel something. And that one's obviously hard to quantify. It's impossible to quantify, really. But it was one that it really stopped me in my tracks. And even not knowing anything that was being said, because language is a thing, it still just hit me so incredibly hard and so incredibly good. So this was the shock that was not even in Arcadia in this spot where it was, basically anointed from last month or from, earlier this month. But for very, very good reason, this was my number one album of the month.
Yeah, that seems like I didn't listen to that. I saw it on the list, but didn't understand it. So I just moved past it. And now I regret that because it sounds amazing.
Yeah, it was. I usually would do the same thing. Like, it's hard to see an album from an artist and you don't recognize it all. It's like, there's so many other things to listen to from artists that I do recognize. I'll just push this off, but I just happened to queue it up and I didn't put it down. It just was there for the duration. It was awesome.
That's awesome. Love it when that happens.
It's one that I think is probably more in your musical wheelhouse. I'm very curious to see if it vibes with you, or it may have just been me thing. I'm perfectly happy if it was, but yeah, I'm super curious.
Have a feeling that's going to be a tomorrow listen for me, if not even a tonight listen for me. We'll see what happens.
Nice. Yeah, let me know. But before you let me know about that, let me know about your number one song or album of the month.
Yeah. So this again, it came as a surprise to me that I was able to dethrone Sleep Token for the month of May, and I may at the end of the year be a hypocrite, right? Like I might swap. This could be 1A and 1B and I'll swap them later and we'll see what happens. But as of right now, the album that got the most rotation for me in May was King Mala and the album And You Who Drowned in the Grief of a Golden Thing. What's the thing that I tend to need from an album to make it at the top of my list? And that thing that I need is novelty. I need something that I've never heard before. I need something that challenges me in a way that makes me think, makes me like really listen to what I'm listening to. And Sleep Token does that. It's the thing that attracted me to Tool. It's the thing that attracted me to a lot of those types of artists. And I will tell you that King Mala is a pop artist from LA. Her real name is Aurelie Castro. And this album is nothing short of a revelation for me. It's experimental alternative pop, dark pop, if you want to call it what it is. It's experimental alternative dark pop, but it has like brooding soundscapes with bursts of intense, unsettling beauty. She has done interviews where she said she draws inspiration from a variety of sources, including brutalist architecture, the movie The Witch, and even Egyptian death lore. But this is a sonic tapestry that is unique and captivating. She has a commanding voice, but it's like just on that edge of super sweet. And she has it's vulnerable, but it's powerful. She blurs the lines between humanity and monstrosity is how I wrote it, but I didn't like that. I almost glossed over it. The production is super intricate. There's layers of hypnotic beats, sharp synths, airy vocals, a lot of harmonies. Well, not a ton of harmonies, but like compacted vocals. Like there's just a lot of layers on it that creates this like haunting but alluring effect. It's meticulously crafted. The thing that I love most about it, I think, is that it is at once new but very familiar. I could say, okay, this is for fans of Portishead, but it is somehow weirder and more accessible. I could say this is for fans of Karina Round, who's one of my favorite artists, and anytime I get to bring that up, it makes me happy. But it's for fans of her where there's this like, it's pop music, but it is twisted. I could bring up Tori Amos. There are moments where it's very piano forward and heavy on the left hand. There are moments that sound like Garbage, who also dropped a record this month, and it pales in comparison to this. But where you get that weird sort of lilt that Shirley Manson has in her voice. So it's familiar, but it's not so familiar that I can't go, oh, that's cool. And I found myself doing that repeatedly throughout the record. And just like any fantastic record, if you ask me what my favorite track from this album is, it changes as I'm listening to the album. It might be God. third track on the record. It might be Devotion, which comes right after it. It might be Ode to a Black Hole, which comes later in the record. And all of that is true. I love all of those songs. And while I'm listening to it, it is my favorite track on the album. It's true of, I would say, 70% of the album. So it's not just a good album. It's artistic. It's a statement. It lingers. It sticks.
I want to quickly share a comment. There was a short film that King Mala had released a few weeks ago concurrently with the album. And I wanted to bring up a comment to see if this was an accurate description of how the album made you feel. This person said, my ears have liquefied like a caterpillar metamorphosing in its cocoon, emerging a dragon. Would you agree?
Yes. my ears have liquefied. That is accurate. They have reemerged as a dragon. I'm fine with that description.
There you have it, y'all. That's
beautiful
journalism right there. Oh my gosh. As you were going through another just legendary workup, by the way, I was listening because I didn't even see this release on the usual Wikipedia spot where we go to get the releases. So you had the inside track on this one.
Yeah. So it helps to have teenagers around. This was a recommendation from a 14-year-old.
Apparently 14-year-olds know what's up. We may discount that too much.
Yeah. This record was amazing.
Nice. Yeah, very, very much not Skibbity if we're continuing with the 14-year-old vernacular.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah, the little short film had and I'm assuming each of these is corresponding to a track, but Sweet Lamb, Heat, and Black Hole. Yeah, I get it. Just in the little listening that I did, I absolutely get it. There's a lot to unpack, and I could not unpack it all in the few minutes that you were talking, but I know that I've been drawn enough to it that I would like to unpack it.
Actually, sonically, Sweet Lamb has a lot of similarities to, say, Caramel.
For sure.
It's very similar sonically, not vocally. Yeah. It's a completely different animal vocally, but yeah.
That's really cool that we went in such different directions for the album that was not supposed to be where it was on
right.
either of our lists.
Right.
That's awesome.
And that is not to knock even in Arcadia, because I had full expectations after listening to it that it would wind up my number one record. And then I wound up listening to this one more.
Yeah, that's a great point. It was not at all disappointing. It wasn't like, oh, this album underperformed. It still overperformed for me, even from what I already expected and, had known was going to be awesome. It was awesomer than I thought it would be, which just speaks to how much more awesomer our number ones were.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about the album side of the house. We're going to go over to the charting single side of the house. And Dan, I am curious. I know it's going to be at the bottom of most of this list, but curious to hear about the other side, at least.
Was it obvious?
I've been proven wrong.
No, you're 100% right, but we'll get there. Yeah, let's run through. Like I said, there was a lot more to get through, but what was the final count? Let me pull that up just so I know what I'm at here. 28 altogether. 12 of them were Mr. Wallen. Yeah. We'll start with To the Good with an honorable mention. And we'll do it with a song called Busy Woman. And Sabrina Carpenter continues her stranglehold on the pop star of the moment spot. And if this new track from the deluxe edition of Short and Sweet is any indication, she's going to be up in that stratosphere for quite a while.
Good for her.
Yeah, it's peak Sabrina. I mean, she's got a thing and she does that thing really well. And that thing works really well in and of itself.
Yes. Now, you may not believe me when I say this, but I really do love it when an artist makes me do a complete 180 on them and completely changes my mind. Bonus points, actually, when they do it over the course of just 2 singles, which is what I've got at number 3 for May. Last year, You Look Like You Love Me from Ella Langley just rubbed me the wrong way, though it didn't come without potential, which is why I was glad to hear weren't for the wind. A more traditional country sound, like her previous charter, maybe one could say it's too clean, if that makes sense. They had all the extra trappings that come with traditional country production. But all of those aspects keep the uniqueness in her voice, and that shines through the polish. It is an upbeat, forward-looking track that's both very catchy, very well written. It paints a vivid picture of a person that is rather adaptable, apt to go with the flow of the situation. Someone clearly not afraid of change, and quite willing to be that change themselves when it needs to be. Whatever you want to take away of a message from that, the song itself is a solid piece. Yeah, I think I do have to call it pop country. It is kind of pop. It is poppy there, but hopefully this is just going to be a taste of what Langley has in her artistically going forward.
I feel like it's one of those where you have the miasma, is that a fair way to say it, of country vocals of today, that they all sound like they're just ladled out of the same soup vat and put onto a record and into our ears. This wasn't. I mean, like you said, Elle has a very unique and a very warm and a very just good sounding voice. It doesn't sound fake good. It doesn't sound overproduced, like you said. It's just naturally great.
Yes, that's it. I mean, it would be considered kind of, if all you were looking for was just, like that perfect tone, her voice is almost kind of dirty when it comes to that, but that's the perfect fit for what she's doing.
Yeah, you said the word clean. I don't want a clean vocalist in my country songs. I just
don't. Like, it just
doesn't fit the theme.
No, exactly. It's been less than a month since we got to enter yet another track into our Hall of Favorite genre, or at least mine, the happy sounding sad song.
Yes.
Which, if I'm pretty sure, my memory is really bad, I'm pretty sure we tried to do a top 5 of those somewhere. If you scroll backwards through the feed of this particular show on whatever your preferred podcast provider is, it's probably back there somewhere. But keep scrolling. If you don't find it, I'm sure there's something you'll find that will pique your interest. Just keep going. We got a lot of stuff.
A quick note on that. This was a Spotify only release. It came out back in 2023. So
forget everything I just said.
No, this actually is perfect, because if you're on Spotify, you'll be able to find it. And if you're not, we will make this the very next episode that we unvault and rewind in probably within the next couple months.
Inadvertently dictating production policy here, but trying to get a cheap plug in the middle of my part of the show.
A professional, in other words.
No, not at all. But anyway, plug aside, let's welcome Lorde back to the charts with her first single since 2021's Fallen Fruit. At number 2 is What Was That? And what did she come back with? She came back with an electropop track that came from what she called a deep breakup, a well of pain, if you will. It's possible that a glass case of emotion was involved. In a note that she posted to her website talking about where this track came from, she explained that it was born of a place where, quote, every meal is a battle, flashbacks and waves, feeling grief's vortex and letting it take me, opening my mouth and recording what fell out, end quote. Which, that in and of itself is a great lyric.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that's a song right there.
Exactly. But that was just the source material. But what fell out was actually became this upbeat recollection of pain and grief of having that big relationship come to an expected end. Like ripping off a Band-Aid that was covering a wound you didn't know was there. And I love that there's a section of the first verse and bridge, somewhere on that like that, where things kind of drift off a little bit. Like the lyrics just kind of moved half a beat down, and it creates this slightly uncomfortable feeling that builds until the chorus kicks in. Everything catches right back up, and it hammers home the idea of being blindsided by the end. the conclusion of what was believed to be forever. And on top of it all, it's also got that sound that is far more akin to 2017's Melodrama, with some parallels in the chorus where she's talking in 2025 about taking MDMA with her former partner, and has also admitted that she was on MDMA and was a heavy influence on Melodrama. Synergy. Either way, I highly recommend listening to this song in whatever state you prefer.
Yeah, you mentioned the lyrics. One that jumped out at me was, I remember saying then, "This is the best cigarette of my life." Well, I want you just like that. Like, it just the imagery and just the hard hittingness of the whole thing, of the harmful effects of that person, and knowing that you still like are right there wanting it, needing it in your life, knowing that it's still very toxic for you. Yeah, you wouldn't get that if you listen to the song without listening to the lyrics too. Like, you would not detect that this was a song like this.
And that's the thing. And I had read several reviews that had felt that this is a step backwards lyrically. And I completely disagree, because it feels more like a step. That's a bad way to construct a sentence. It feels far more raw of a description of things. Like someone who is able to step back, like his past situation, is able to take to fully recollect it and reflect on it. And it's just like, I'm not dancing around any of this. Here's everything right in the teeth.
In contrast to the music video, where she is dancing around all of like Williamsburg, New York.
Yeah, that was the thing too. That were sort of made headlines when she kind of shut everything down, and New York was not happy.
It's
like lore. It's the first time someone's guerrilla shot a music video in New York. Please,
right? That's got to be a
Limp Bizkit do that.
God, I hope not.
If they did, I've blanked it out.
So that's what they did for the Nookie. Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's the video, actually.
Oh shit! Like I know the music video. I didn't realize that was set in New York. I thought it was just like a soundstage somewhere. That's
I mean, don't quote me on it.
Oh, I'm
sure that information's out there.
Oh, I was thinking of something else. I think Fred Durst randomly did like a lip dub of something of him just wandering around San Francisco, mouthing the words to some song, and I've already forgotten the song, but I generally try to forget that segment of my musical past.
Speaking of bad music.
Yes, speaking of bad music, it's time to talk about some. Because we know what we're here to do, right?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay. Dishonorable mention. Morgan Wallen featuring Post Malone, I Ain't Coming Back. I've never thought we'd get to this point, but the Posty track that Wallen was the feature on, so everything was flipped. I had some help. Leaps and bounds better than this generic pile. Ignore the fact that they were both given the exact same score. Because this is the review show where everything's made up and the points don't matter. Much.
I'm a redneck because I drink beer and I dip Skull, which is not a lyric from the song Skull, Chevy, and Browning.
No, it's not.
I love this album so much.
Do you remember about half an hour, 45 minutes ago, where you guys were talking about the lyrical content of what really kills this record?
Uh-huh.
And I said, put a pin in that thought.
Uh-huh.
You still holding? Is it still on the bulletin board?
Oh, yeah, it's still there.
Okay. Keep it there for just a quick second.
Okay.
A surprise to no one in this room. There are many artists who use auto-tune to improve their voice, to help them, build out harmonies and double up some choruses, with just as many using it to trick us into thinking they can actually sing. And yet, somehow, it still could not help friend of the bottom of the chart, Jessie Murph, who has a message for her ex in Blue Strips. I said it, I think, about a year or so ago in reviewing her track with Cole Wetzel. But this time, instead of being yelled at by a Bratz doll, Blue Strips is like being flexed on by a Bratz doll. The trap beat is whatever. There's some vague idea this is pop country, but okay, sure. The beat is fine, if not just kind of stock. It sounds stock to my ears. But God, I cannot get past. I'm sorry, I can't get past the vocals. It's just bad. And I don't think that's ever going to change for me. I think that any single that she puts out from here on out will probably end up down here because holy ball bag is her voice like a chainsaw directly down the ear canal, as far in my humble and correct opinion.
Well, you're not going to get an argument from me on that one.
I didn't think I would.
Relative to the Coetzel song High Road and relative to the Jelly Roll song Wild Ones, Blue Strips deserves a fucking Grammy. Jesus, I couldn't remember the name of the fucking thing. Yeah, Blue Strips deserves a Grammy in comparison to those two tracks. It sounds leaps and bounds better, both in terms of Murph's delivery and in terms of the song itself. It's not a good song. It's a bad song. It's a terrible song. But if we're just grading on the Jesse Murph curve, then this one is certainly number one on the list of the ones I've heard so far.
It's a very short curve.
It is. It's 3 songs.
It's sliding down the curve like the banana splits.
Oh,
That's the show, folks.
yep. Thank you very much. Don't forget to tip your wait staff.
Dan,
I can't just stop now, can I? I got to go on.
No, you got to move on.
You know what other tracks you're not tipping?
Well, in the middle of all this meh, I think there is one thing that's possibly worse than putting out a truly bad song. And that's putting out a song that is nothing but missed opportunities, which is what we actually have at 27. Not a single, but one of the illustrious 12 that hit the top 40. It is Morgan Wallen by himself this time with Kiss Her in Front of You. And the basic concept of the whole song feels backwards. Now, I know I'm asking way too much to demand logic in my pop music. I get it. It's like demanding logic in your wrestling. But we're talking about the core concepts here. And if I've misinterpreted this whole thing and also misunderstood how this whole concept of human relationships works, well, musically, it's still a very meh country song. So it's still down here because it's one of only like 5 songs that Wallen makes. But the story of this song is that his ex left him, and now he can't wait to make out with this new chick in front of his ex, who, if you remember, left him. So just working off the very simple order of operations, Pimadas, she left, which one would interpret as her being more than willing for him to, go meet other women. But he's still so sure that this will hurt his ex to see him with somebody else because even though she left, she still wants him. Like the opposite of King of Wishful Thinking, where at least Go West was turning that spotlight inwardly. But no, Wallen is such a stud. He knows all his exes still want to ride, and it'll just kill her to see him with someone else and her at the back of the line. For some reason, I feel like this is an all too common feeling amongst the male population, especially amongst the segments of the male population who least deserve that level of consideration. But once again, the first line of the song, walked out on me like it's nothing. She's fucking done with you, dude. Hit the bricks. Do what you want. She does not care. And there's a concept here that could have been done interestingly if it was turned on its head, much like I said, like I referenced King of Wishful Thinking. That's the perfect example of how you could have made this song and not been a dick about it. Instead, you went for the weakly strengthened writing effort. I don't have a good... It's one ply, but I don't know how else to describe it.
Now, I haven't listened to this album, as I pointed out earlier, but it sounds like throughout the course of this record, Morgan Wallen has turned himself into the human embodiment of the ick factor.
Here's the problem with that, and I don't know how you feel about this, Zach, but like, most of the songs, I don't think there's enough there to even get the ick. Like this one in particular, but it's 37 rice cakes with a couple of like specks of cinnamon in there, and this is one of the little bit of seasoning. I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah, there's the substance is so. I think you nailed it, Dan. You said like there are 5 songs on this album. I think I maybe upgraded it to 6, and I feel like that was like too many. It's just bereft of anything, even good, bad, or indifferent. It's just it exists. It's in the same ethereal plane that the three of us and all the listeners are, but that's really kind of where it ends.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's not to say it's not bad. It's still fucking
No.
horrible,
Yeah,
but
just
it's just not like it's not most of it's not like skeevy horrible. This one is cringe for sure.
If you want, we can go down a tour of things that are charted that are the skeevy from artists that actually have more talent, but apparently fall on the Ryan Adams side of country.
Oh,
yeah.
That's not a good side of anything.
No.
You don't want to be on that side of the bell curve.
No, sir, you don't.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Like to say I'd cheer things up, but not. I can't. But if number 27 was centered around overly egotistic and a little misogynistic songwriting, the true bottom of this month's barrel is a great big pile of the laziest kind of songwriting currently plaguing Music Row. And it's probably no surprise. The worst charting single of May 2025 belongs to Morgan Wallen. Zack already referenced it. Skoll, Chevy, and Browning. And boys, with a title like that, what exactly would you expect this song to be all about? In fact, let's just direct that to Jay. The title of the song is Skoll, Chevy, and Browning.
Skoll, Chevy, and Browning.
This song should be all about.
I think it is about connecting with the eternal depths of humanity and the struggle. No, I'm kidding. It's about rub, guns, and trucks.
Pretty much.
Like
there's no hidden meaning in all of this.
It's literally it.
I hope someone got a check, because if not, like it makes it worse. Let's get the easy part out of the way. Just like the rest of the 37 godforsaken songs on I'm the Problem, it sounds fine. It's fine. This is a professional recording done by professional musicians and professional producers, mixed and mastered by professional engineers.
Like 1,000 of them.
Yeah, like 1,000. In fact, we may actually have writing credit on one of these songs. We probably should check with our lawyers. But like we said before, there's 5 different songs that get produced for Wall, and this is one of them. Which is also to say that despite that damn album being an extended double-length super record, it sounds like 37 songs of the same 5 things. But I digress, Excalibur. The real thing that notches this one with such a low score is the same thing that has dinged many of Wallen's tracks for me. It is paint-by-numbers country writing. It is country Mad Libs. This one in particular feels like someone on Wallen's staff or the office staff or someone who works for him or someone who works at the bar that he apparently owns stopped at a convenience store off Route 27 in East Tennessee and took a pad and wrote down everything they had in the store. And when they got back to Nashville, they showed the list to the writing team. That team picked 3 random things off the list and decided that was going to be the framework of the song. Then they flipped to a new page of notebook and asked themselves, what do people who live in rural communities like to do? And someone at the back of the room yelled, "Go hunting!" And they were like they were in the audience of an improv night at the Learning Annex, and in about 17 minutes, they had written a song for the country's biggest artist. I know I have been complaining about the idea that the current crop of pop country artists and writers just make tracks that attempt to pander their concept of a country music consumer, or more than likely to the actual consumer, to the suburban audience who like to think of themselves as down home in country, even though the closest they've ever gotten to a farm is wandering to the greenhouse at Home Depot. But I would enter this chorus into evidence as Exhibit A of just that, and the full dramatic reading. If you're going to be a friend, be a friend. Be a friend like Skoll, always there in a pinch.
Jesus fuck.
If you're going to love a woman, you got to love her like a Chevy, buddy. Steady like a rock. If something's on your mind, got something to say, do it like you're Browning. Try to shoot 'em straight. Hell, just look around you. Be Skoll Chevy, and Browning.
Tremendous. Tremendous.
That is not a parody. That is not an attempt to ape anyone's style. That is a song that currently sits in the top 30 of the top 100 music tracks in this country. And that makes me think, boys, we got to get in on this scam.
I was thinking that thing just now.
We would be, the three of us, we're a competitively tiny writing team in Nashville Standards, but I have no doubt that if we sit down 20 minutes, our first song, I Lost My Baby Like I Lost My Copenhagen in Lyon, Alabama, will go triple platinum.
Man, I'm already starting to think of the lyrics.
You're already writing it in your head, aren't you?
I am.
Give me a week. Give me a week. I'll have all the music for the album written.
Oh, beautiful. We make fun here, but part of me legitimately wants to see if we might actually be able to do this.
We could write the best country song of the year. I have no doubt about that.
And if we do it, hey, I will. If we do it too, well, I guarantee you there will be no AI involved.
Zero.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
No AI.
Cross my heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hope to be stuck on a stage with Morgan Wallen. I did look up reviews of the album, and your review of this made me laugh a lot because I was reading this at the same time. But this said the lyrical depth here rivals a puddle after a light sprinkle.
That's a good line.
Yeah, we're treated to the same tired tropes of whiskey, women who done him wrong, allegedly, though I suspect the problem might be closer to the mirror, and the wavering belief that being slightly inebriated constitutes a personality.
I'm not going to go too hard on that one because it's gotten me this far so far.
And then
that last little bit.
And then it says it's like someone fed a country music Mad Lib to an AI that was already having a bad day. The results are ... Well, they exist.
What that tells me is that I'm hearing the exact same things that others are hearing.
Yeah.
That I am not just hating for the sake of hate.
No.
And humor, that it's just genuinely not good, and people who are paying attention are seeing the same things that I am.
For sure.
Good. I feel better.
Yeah. No. I'm in. Let's start writing. Let's create a list of song titles that we can use to build the framework for the album.
Okay, so track 1, I Lost My Baby Like I Lost My Copenhagen in Lyon, Alabama.
Track 2 is My Barstool Left Me for Another Man.
That made my stomach hurt hearing that.
That's a slow burn.
Very nice. It's a winner.
Okay, we'll come back to that though. We'll circle back.
Oh, I got one more. So track 3 is much easier. Jack, Jimmy, Miller, and Jose.
That could be a fun one. That sounds like it'd be a fucking
blues track. That's a George T song.
Exactly. Yes. But yeah, we got work ahead of us.
Look, this is all fun. This is all fun and games until
it actually happens. Yeah.
The next thing in your feed is an actual, not a podcast, but a fucking album.
Oh, poor listeners. We feel for you.
Oh my God.
But Dan, I think
please let me finish this.
So we still have a positive order of business to finish this off.
Yes, I can. I normally don't end up having a song hit the top of my chart that has not caught a piece of the Billboard Hot Top 40. Break the fourth wall down a little bit. I take into account both the Hot 100, well, the top of the Hot 100, and the kind of standard for radio airplay, the American Top 40. And while we get plenty of songs that hit on radio first and then translate over to the Hot 100, this month's number 1 would not have qualified if it weren't for AT40, which I believe has its thumb on the TikTok scale a little heavier than Billboard. Granted, Raven and Lenae's Love Me Not peaked at 41 on the Hot 100, and so maybe it's only a matter of time. Either way, Love Me Not was the last track that I listened to. It kind of came out of nowhere to take the lead. It debuted on the AT40 chart on May 31st. And it's a very chill blend of R&B and trip hop with sprinkled in some elements of soul and indie pop. Lyrically, it takes on a familiar trope of wanting to be with someone while still maintaining the independence of self. And the production is great. It makes all of those genre influences just blend together perfectly. But the thing that pushes Love Me Not to the top is Lene herself and her dreamy, enveloping vocals. She nails down the perfect R&B tones while floating several times into that space of an adjective that I know I use way too often, but it's true when I do it, the ethereal. A perfect example hits at the end of the chorus when she just floats up over the drums with the line that acts as the thesis for this one. Oh no, I don't need you, but I miss you, come here. The song is more than worth your time. I'm mad at myself that this and her whole second record, Bird's Eye, eluded me when it dropped last August. I have since remedied that, and the whole album is an absolute R&B delight.
Yeah, I'll do you one better, which is weird that this single actually dropped in May of last year, a few months before the album came out. So the single is like literally a year lagging behind its entry into the Billboard Top 40.
Again, it's one of those things that just happened. Like we've talked about multiple times that a single just happens to hit TikTok, and it's enough to carry it in because that's how the charts are built now. Not always a bad thing, not always a good thing, but not always a bad thing.
For sure. Yeah, and apologies. I said the Billboard Hot 100. This was the AT40, the American Top 40 that it entered into. But yeah, either way, I mean, they both are very legitimate charts, and this is a very legitimately great song. It's a bop by all measures of the word.
And admittedly, I almost forgot it. I almost forgot to check yesterday's chart when I was doing stuff earlier this afternoon, and I would have definitely regretted that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's dancey, it's funky, and like you said, Raven's voice is just perfectly accentuates the song. Or rather, the song perfectly accentuates her voice is a much better way.
Yeah, either way. Yeah.
6 of one, half a dozen of your mother.
This man knows.
Mm-hmm. Put that in one of the songs. We got to write that down.
Oh, there you go. That's track 4.
That's track 4. Writing it down.
Oh, this is going to be an abject failure. But listeners, if you're here, you're along for the ride. We will be, whatever comes out of this really fucked up experiment, we will be sharing with all of you in all of the ways that we tend to share everything with all of you. Being Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Fairly KickAss on all of them. fairlykickass@gmail.com. If you want us to email it to you, I guess. Why would you ever want that? But we will gladly do so. fairlykickass.com for all of your ride-along playlists, and probably this behemoth monstrosity of a thing will be posted here at some point. And as Dan had alluded to before, the only place to get the Fairly Kick-Ass podcast prior to a certain date is on Spotify. Of course, we are now available everywhere where you get your podcasts. And as we always say, if we're not available somewhere, please let us know and we will get on there. We will do what we need to do and pull the strings and call the people to get where you need us to be. But we do still have literal years of podcasts only available on Spotify. There is music interspersed with those episodes, which I do miss being able to do that. But that is something that Spotify doesn't offer anymore, unfortunately. But if you go back to those episodes, they are maintained with the music interspersed. So go check those out. We'll be unvaulting those periodically as time goes on. We've already done a few of those. We've unvaulted some of our deep dives, which are awesome. Yeah, you'll hear all of them at some point in the future, even if you don't go to Spotify. But if you do, then you can get the inside scoop.
Cool.
Speaking of scoops, guys, do you have any scoops for the listeners before we head on out of here?
No, I think the only scoop that we have is that coming soon, the debut album of Fairly Kick-Ass. 27 country songs to shit your pants to.
27.
Yes, so it'll take us like 3 hours.
At most, yeah. And that's like a 30-minute like lunch break in between that too.
Oh yeah, totally.
Oh.
Liquid lunch.
That's track number 6.
Oh
Nice,
yeah, good
nice.
call.
Write it down.
Good call.
Write it down.
Good call. Look at this.
We got work to do, listeners. We're out of here.
We'll talk to you all later. See ya.